Folks, it is 7 p.m. and I'd like to please call this meeting to order. If you join me now in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. To the republic for which it stands, Clerk, please help me with the roll call.
Babish Yakine,
Here.
Devereaux,
Here.
Green,
Here.
Lewis, McKinney,
Here.
Robinson, Robinson here, Schwartz.
Now, if we could move to approve the agenda, there is one item that I would like to add that is on your desk. It is around a job description related to Mr. Petrie's former role with Superior Township for part-time blight enforcement. I just want to bring something to the board's attention that I think is a positive add.
Adding to the,
Yes, please.
what's that? Second.
Under new business. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? It's been added. Is there a motion to approve the amended agenda? Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Right, the new agenda is approved. And if we could please move to citizen participation. If there is an item that you would like to speak to that's on the agenda, please join us at the podium and share your name, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Good evening.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much to Ms. McKinney for letting me speak today. Since DTE is a topic being spoken about tonight, I will be talking about the air quality. My name is Ashley Tall, and I live in Superior Township and am a rising ninth grader in Ann Arbor Public Schools. I am also the Michigan State champion of the National Civics Bee, where I will be competing in Washington, D.C. in the fall. As part of the bee, I wrote an essay about an issue in my community. So I'm speaking here today to raise awareness about poor air quality in Michigan. Michigan has several areas, including Washtenaw County, that are in serious non-attainment and maintenance zones based on the EPA standards. We are living in a county that is ranked top 10 for having the worst air quality in Michigan. It is our duty as active leaders in our community to do our part to improve living conditions. Leaving your car on for 10 or more seconds produces 30 million tons of CO2 each year. So by turning off your car when possible, you can have immense impacts on the environment. I have been doing work to try to create a solution to this problem. One of my ideas was to create a voluntary vehicle emissions testing program. With this program, citizens like yourselves would have the option to get your vehicles tested in dealerships. If your vehicle was below standard, then you would get a voucher from the dealership to buy a new vehicle that meets the standards. This would benefit both the citizen and the dealership because the citizen would have money to buy a new car and the dealership would get more sales. We need to spread the word about the effects of vehicle emissions on the environment and about my possible solution, because this issue is worsening every day. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm TC of Little Road Acres. I have a couple of items I'd like to bring to the township. The first one is that we had a school over 260 miles away to come to the Clay Hill property to take a look and to see how things are run. They had 11 to 15 students with chaperones to come out and see is to Baldwin Community Public Schools. They spent all day looking, observing, watching, and taking notes for their operation up in Baldwin. It is a small school community of 560 children, ranging from kindergarten to 12th grade. It is a very small school district. They really like the Clay Hill project and they would like to replicate it and take it to their community. They also like the beekeeping program that we have, the mushroom cultivation, and the farm operation. So I want to thank the township for allowing Little Rock Acres and the Clay Hill project to exist. As far as the second one, we did sign the amended contract for the Clay Hill project. And we did receive good news from the USDA, Natural Resource Conservation Services, that we are fully funded for the project. That will be for the composting station, the water runoff retention portion of that. We also received funding for the high tunnel. So I want to thank the township for extending the lease or amending the lease, I should say. So that way it will go hand in hand with the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Services. Do you have any questions on any of that?
All good news. Thank you.
Right, thank you, everyone.
I am Mrs. Mohammed, a resident of Superior Township. And while I had many questions regarding the fiscal 24 audit presentation, I'm more perplexed as to why a major presentation was not done as a special meeting. The audit is such an important component of your governance, and yet it is included in a board packet of more than 350 pages. This large board packet and the timing of its availability to you, our elected officials, with the expectation that it will be reviewed, investigated, and understood thoroughly is a disservice to the residents and to you in the fulfillment of your responsibilities. I implore you to adjust the timeline of the board packet distribution, as this will only help you do better. I do have a couple audit questions though, because I read the audit, and I'm sure that you did too, because you voted unanimously to approve it. My audit questions are, I'd like to know what processes you are going to implement to address the material weakness identified. So the streak continues, because this is like year 9 that our audit has come back with material weaknesses. As well as it was reported parts of land that had been previously purchased but not recorded. How does that happen? That was on page 9 of the audit. And of course, the 61.4% of cash deposits that are exposed to risk. I've been talking about that for 16 months. I've given you an out of how to correct it. The auditors gave you an out of how to correct it. I'm not understanding why our deposits are at risk. That would be just like 61.4% of our bank account, your personal bank account, being exposed for risk. You come in one day and it's gone. That's what's happening in our township. I don't understand that. And finally, kudos to Trustee Devereaux and Green on initiating a discussion on having a road improvement strategy. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Good evening. David Phillips, Cherry Hill Road. I see that the road commission is going to do a presentation tonight. I assume they'll be taking questions, but in case they're not, I would just like to bring up dust control on our gravel roads. I think it's the worst I've seen in forever. And like the young lady said, pollution, people are breathing that dust. If you live right close to the road, it probably health hazard. But it's also blowing away our limestone. They used to call them fines. It's the limestone fines is the dust and it blows the limestone away and leaving that limestone on. Driving on Ridge Road, Wayne County Road Commission does have dust control, and I know it's a different product, 1,000% better. I know it's probably much more expensive, but there might be a cost benefit analysis to using better dust control. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a few questions and a comment. I live in Woodside Village subdivision and Infinity Homes is built. Okay, I could, and they, in my opinion, they are the slumlords of builders. And I can give you 1,000 reasons why, but I'll keep it short. I'll start with one of the most recent. For 3 years, I had water pooling in my backyard along with other residents. It attracted animals, bugs, flies, mosquitoes. It was actually a health hazard. Not to mention it was bad to look at and I couldn't use my backyard. So this went on for 3 years because they didn't have a drainage system at all. So how were they allowed to come in here and build and not have a drainage system? That's insane. So it took them 3 years and finally this spring they came in and attempted to do something about it. But in the meantime, they destroyed my garden. They have refused to replace it. Refused. They come up with excuses and send me pictures, have the pictures timestamped. My people said they didn't do it. It's insane. Myself and all the other neighbors have pictures of the garden. It was there for 3 years before they came and dug it up and drug the trees away. I had 2 bushes. They drug one away completely. They destroyed the other one and it's bleeding and all the leaves are dying. They dug up all the flowers that usually come up annually. And they're saying that their people said they didn't do it. It's insane. I've seen them, I sent them pictures. So just like everything else they do, they destroy property, they leave it to the homeowners to have to pick up the pieces and get it done, and they drag their feet. This happened in the spring. It's now almost August. So I'd like to know, what are you gonna do to ensure that people like Infinity don't come into our community and take advantage of the homeowners, drag their feet, don't do anything when they're supposed to do, you know, drag people through lawsuits, and this continues to happen. And they still don't have a bond with the city, with the township. So how did they come in here and still not have a bond? Is there something you can do in the future to prevent things like this from happening? I'd just like to know how they've been able to get away with this for 6 years, and they continue to do it.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Justice. I know that our attorney and our building inspector has been working with Infinity to try to remediate what's taken place to the property. I would ask that our attorney, Lucas, please connect with you to get your perspective on where things are and the ways that you're unsatisfied with the way that they've been out to your property.
They're dragging their feet up, you know, dragging their feet. Like, this is what they do with everything. Lie, deny, and avoid. They've been able to get away with this for 6 years. I don't see them changing at this point. But I'd like to know what you do about it to keep it from happening in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other public comments?
Yes, Jack Smiley on Cherry Hill Road. 3 hopefully quick points. Number 1, in case you hadn't heard, the Parks Commission gave the Rock property a new identity. The property north of Freeland is now the Birdsong Nature Preserve. It will be incorporated into the property that is being bought by the trust fund. South of Green Road will be known as the Superior Township Community Farm. And we've already started improvements on the property. Last month, we planted 11 acres of native grasses and wildflowers. And we started the Bluebird Trail. We had a volunteer put up 2 boxes last month. And surprisingly, this month already, we got a nest of bluebirds with 4 babies in it. And they put up, the volunteers put up 3 more boxes just this weekend, and we'll be continuing that. Secondly, at the Parks Commission meeting, we also passed a resolution which you had sent to you. I hope you'll pay special attention to that, because if we can just make a slight adjustment to that development, we can have a trail from Clark Road right up to Township Hall. And then with just 1 or 2 more connections, we can have that trail go all the way up to Shorter Park. And finally, the third point is on a more personal note. I'm sure most people have heard that Bob Schultz passed away recently. And I just want to note, he was such a good guy. I knew him for the past 35 years. And we did a lot of things that people didn't realize. For the last several years, he donated pumpkins for a pumpkin carving. And even last year, when he didn't grow pumpkins to sell, he made a special effort to grow pumpkins just so he could donate it to the township. And I was pleased to have helped him protect most of his land in Superior Township. He was one of the largest landowners. And there was still a part that he owned that he was hoping to protect. Before he died, I met with him. We were planning to hopefully get the rezoning changed to agriculture so you qualify for federal funding, to buy his development rights. And when he sold his development rights, he used that money to buy more land. And that's the kind of guy he was. And sadly, had he known, he probably would have donated an easement. I wish we would have discussed that, but we did. So I hope we all keep in mind Bob's vision for that land. He called that the best farmland in Superior Township. And of course, not just the best in Superior, it's the best in the state and some of the best in the country. So as we review our zoning plan, I hope we keep that in mind. Because unless we do something to improve our zoning plan, I don't think we have much chance of saving any farmland in Michigan, in our township, unless we secure the development rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smiley.
Mr. Smiley, we're gonna miss the corn stand.
Yes, I always loved his garden.
Yeah.
Brenda Baker, Ashton Court. Here to talk about the Committee to Promote Superior Township, which this month is page 185 out of 352 in your packet. We have the monthly infographic updating you on what we've been up to for the last month or so since the last meeting. You can obviously read it for yourself. Something new that I may have mentioned last month, but the vendor spotlight for the vendors at the Dixboro Farmers Market has turned out to be very popular and successful. And we're highlighting a lot of different vendors from the Dixboro Farmers Market. I'm gonna check that out. And also still trying to push guest staffers at the booth there at the Farmers Market. It's kind of an information booth. And I'm always there. So they always get my perspective. And we want to give people an opportunity to spend a couple of hours and interface with the public and get, speak to your strengths, what you know about the township. And you'd be given information and there's a flyer available about it if you'd like a copy of the flyer that talks about how to volunteer. Just get hold of me and I can give you a copy of the flyer. You can also get it off of our social media.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Deidre DeRay Fuller, and I live at 971 Stamford Road. I'm sure you've seen some of these photos and heard from us before. We are 31-year residents of Superior Township. And thank you for your service for our ever-growing community, and ask that that you consider the current community when you make plans moving forward, and the community that has built this community when you make plans moving forward. We've raised our 6 children in our home. It was supposed to be our 5-year home, but because of continued flooding of the roadway onto our property, it has become our forever home. We now purchased a home twice in the repairs that we have had to make to our property. Since the addition of the first Brookside subdivision and later the Prospect Point subdivision, we've experienced almost a constant stream of issues related to overflow water collecting on our property. On a regular basis, after even a light rain, debris runs downhill from both directions of Stamford Road to the storm drain at the end of our driveway, which we clear religiously. During heavy rains or windstorms, the debris load increases quantitatively and unpredictably causes a dam that increases quantitatively and unpredictably, causing a dam on the flat storm drain. The adjacent overflow, perforated top drain in our driveway also becomes blocked with the road debris. This results in water advancing to within 12 to 15 feet of our front door, unless we remain vigilant throughout the night, despite lightning storms, to keep the drain on both sides of the roadway clear. We've suffered well over $30,000 worth of property damage, including having to replace our front porch and driveway. Our brick paver walkway, replace landscaping, clean, rebuild, repair our finished basement more than once, and replace the red vehicle in these photos, which obviously was completely underwater. During this particular incident, I had surgery on my foot and there was no one else available to go out. We have a disabled child. My husband has knee issues. There's only so much one family can do. And yes, we are all busy. And we all have jobs, we all have lives. Some of us are risking our lives so the neighborhood doesn't hit this black water. We've had neighbors who have lost vehicles, not just us. 3, 4, some have landed on our drive, some have landed on our lawn when they hit this water. We've repeatedly asked for help from the previous administrations, and again now to no avail. We've requested that an overflow grate replace the current grate to alleviate the damage from debris before it encroaches on our property. Stanford Road has been repaved at least 3 times since these requests were first made. The road commission acknowledged that drains are performing as originally designed in, 1940 maybe? Adam, you would know. And become inundated during severe weather. Well, I don't know about any of you, but the weather's not going to get better. It's only going to get more severe. So we've been displaced from our home at least 3 occasions because of this flooding and other severe weather issues.
So I think that we're at 3 minutes. Thank you for bringing in the photos and your comments, and we'll be speaking to some of these issues during the presentation with the road commission.
Thank you.
Can I see that? Really quick.
These are only a few because
I didn't have time to.
I'm literally right next to Ramona.
Are there any other public comments? Is there anything on Zoom? Okay, seeing no more further public comment, I'd like to move to the supervisor's comments. And I'm gonna go ahead and close public comment. Is there a second?
So move.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. And moving to supervisor's comments, appreciate, folks coming out this evening. I passed out a report here at the table. We've got some interesting items to discuss, including road commission plans, road improvement strategy, and some pieces around security lighting within the community and some other staffing issues. And generally, since we do have a few presentations that are coming before us, I'd like to please add to the presentations. And if we could please start with the OHM presentation. Do I have a motion to get that going? So moved.
Second.
In favor? Aye. Hello.
Good evening to the board. George Sagoff, OHM Advisors. We wanted to make a brief presentation to you tonight to go over the water system master plan that was originally completed in December 2022. We thought with a lot of new board members, it may be a good idea just to kind of refresh on the system, give an overview, talk about the capital improvement plan a little bit, see if you have any questions. My colleague Chris Ellenboss is here and he will take you through the presentation.
Yeah.
So 2022, very end of 2022, we completed the water system master plan. Basically every 5 years. The state of Michigan requires you to produce this document. Basically, you're looking at any additions to the water system, projecting out 5-20-year growth so that you make sure your water system is adequately sized for your population. You're modeling fire flow, pressure, looking at water main breaks, whether you're meeting your level of service, whether it's too many breaks on a certain main, and then using all that information basically to develop a capital improvement plan for the next 5 and 20-year planning horizons basically the state of thing. So just keeping this real brief, water system in the service district. Basically on the east end, you have Ridge Road, edge of the township. On the west end, you have La Forge. And then it's basically just that 1 mile kind of corridor in there that is served by the Superior Township water system. You receive your water basically from Great Lakes Water Authority, which passes through the Ypsilanti Community Utilities Authority. The primary connection to Great Lakes Water Authority is at Ridge and Geddes. You then operate a water booster station as well, which is currently located at Clark and La Forge, basically supplementing water pressure on kind of the western portion of the water service district. Jumping to the next slide, there are kind of a couple areas that are kind of little offshoots of the water system that are direct customers of other water suppliers. So the St. Joseph Hospital area really is served direct through Ypsilanti Community Utilities Authority. Their meters are basically, their bills go straight to them. And the same thing is happening just up with a couple residential communities off of Geddes, where they get their water basically direct from Ann Arbor Township, and really coming from the city of Ann Arbor ultimately to those locations. But again, they're just billed direct through Ann Arbor Township, kind of as a small offshoot. Next slide. Township currently uses about a little over 600,000 gallons, 620,000 gallons on an average day. On a really warm, hot summer day, kind of the peak use that we see within the township's water system is about 1.5 million gallons. As we project out to that kind of 20-year projection window, we're looking at kind of topping out at about 800,000 gallons. I mean, that's really on the assumption that the water service district itself is not going to expand. There's some parcels in the district that are development, but we're not anticipating a huge increase to the water service district. Next slide. Kind of the other piece to this, kind of outside of demands and where we serve, is kind of the risk to the water system and kind of areas we should be paying attention to. You can see there in this map, really these are all the pipes in the water system. The ones in red are the high risk pipes. So those are large diameter mains. They're old mains. They're mains that are typically, in case of Superior Township, mains that were constructed of asbestos cement pipe, which typically have fairly high break rates when they get the age they are. A lot of those red pipes were built in the 1940s. They're asbestos cement. The township sees fairly high break rates on them. The one other area I would just point attention to that I'll discuss kind of a little more here is kind of the area along Ridge Road. The very southeast corner of the township really is kind of isolated, where there is no looping connection. So usually in a water system, you kind of want two areas where the ability for water to flow to a neighborhood from two separate connections. Those areas down in the southeast corner, really, they are dependent on just singular water mains to get their water. So if there's ever a water main break on one of those mains, they could be out of water for, a day, if the break was substantial. So
Is that the one on Ridge Road?
yeah, on Ridge Road, basically. I mean, it's really the mobile home park and the communities that are over off Ridge there.
So the meter, that our second meter on Ridge Road wouldn't. help?
No, there is no connection up to that meter. So, I mean, it's later in this presentation, but really one of the top projects right now that really in discussion with township staff is we're really looking at trying to get that connection so that
Because we have a second connection on Ridge.
there is a connection just up at Geddes and Ridge. There is a connection down off Dawn and Clark that is unused. It's emergency only, and then the only other connection is at Clark.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're
This, when the Stanford Road, Bristol, West is high. Does this account for the replacement that just happened or?
no, yeah. So this map is still 2022.
Okay.
Yeah. So a good chunk of that red pipe was just addressed by the recent project that was completed back in the spring.
Okay.
So
Great.
yeah. Definitely. Next slide. So I guess just before I jump to kind of some of the planned projects or the projects that are out there, just going back to the previous water system master plan, I mean, really the Township water system overall, there's not a huge need for improvement. It's in fairly good condition. Really just making sure you're taking care of the assets that are high risk, standard asset management kind of methodology is recommended. Certainly the Stanford 1940s AC pipe, that is a priority for the township. There's been very high break rates on that. And given that it's a 16-inch pipe, and when it does break, it has caused property damage. And I think the sections that we just replaced, a lot of those were up in people's yards. So it was breaking, it was in close proximity to houses as well. The other thing on the system operation side was kind of the recommendation to optimize pressures more on the western and northwestern portion of the township. Over the past, I mean, really since this came out, we've been working with Mary and Ricky to address that. I think we've made improvements to the booster station over the past couple of years as well. So a lot of that is awesome. Next slide. So this is just kind of the 5-year capital improvement plan that was in the last master plan. There's a little over, I think, $6 million of recommendations. That was, I will say, 2022 dollars. Item 1 there, that's the project that was predominantly just completed by the township. There's several others. A lot of them are around Stanford, MacArthur, really where you have some of your oldest mains and the mains products, water main breaks. And then project 5 there, if you could jump to the next slide, is really that Geddes Road project. So in 2022, we're estimating about 1.6 million for this project. And the goal here is really to make that secondary connection to kind of manage the risk of kind of that area that's not adequately looped in the southeast corner. I guess the one other thing that we know is there's a number of properties along Ridge Road that are looking to connect to the water system. Well, this would give them a main that's available for them to connect to. And it would also kind of give a flow path for water off of that Geddes and Ridge connection to Great Lakes Water Authority, just kind of increasing redundancy of the overall system. So that's really all we have. We're trying to keep this short and sweet on the water system since you guys didn't hear it a few years ago, most of you. I guess any questions?
Wyatt Road and Harvest Lane connects to which one?
Which one?
Harvest Lane and Wyatt Road, the connection is.
Yeah, I mean, they connect down through, and come down to a singular main on the very south end of the township. So I mean, right now their water is coming it's coming off of that Geddes and Ridge connection all the way down, but they don't have that secondary. So that heart where Harvest comes around there and hits Clark, I mean, that's really that location where.
Because I know about the Geddes and Ridge connection. So they get some of their water from that area, from Geddes and Ridge.
I mean, the water system too, I mean, it's a shared connection. So I mean, the water is coming to two locations. And at any given time, depending on demand across the township, it could be coming from either.
Could you explain the significance by not having a secondary connection? What if something was to happen in that first connection? Was this new?
Yeah, so I mean, really, if you were to get a break, it's kind of right along Clark Road, you can see it kind of comes to a singular pipe. If that pipe were to break, all of that mobile home park and all the residents up off Ridge there that currently are served by the water system would be out of water until that water main break could be addressed. And so, I mean, normally the state would, pay attention to something like this and say, we really need kind of two connections.
Yeah, thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Your time. The next presentation is with the Director of Operations of the Champaign Road Commission, Adam Lake. Adam and I spoke before this meeting, and the 3 topics I thought were most appropriate and timely to address were, first, a little bit about 1 and 1, backgrounds on the road commission and their obligations and their role in the community. Too, speaking about the Cherry Hill proposal for infrastructure work that we saw come before the board last month, and then also to speak about the drainage issues that we're seeing on Stanford and some of the efforts that are already taking place and some of the things that might be forthcoming. So I'll let you get out there. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Emily. Good evening, Adam Wade, Director of Operations. We have Ken Harris with us, and also the superintendent's maintenance. So we have two superintendents and then Dick Foreman, and myself kind of work as a team with all our operators and drivers throughout the county. So very quickly, for those kind of new to road commissioner, haven't really had time to meet us. In general, we have about 1,600 lane miles where the road we take care of throughout the county, varying between primary road systems. So you can picture Prospect Road here, local road system, Cherry Hill Road, and then down into subdivision streets. So we'll use example samples since we'll talk about that here a little bit later. So that's really our responsibility is to maintain that road system, perform the maintenance, and then we have to, due to some of the funding acts, we have to seek 50% partnership for local road projects. So that's what brings us in, and we're closely related to all the townships throughout the county. So we work with the townships. Most townships overmatch, what we refer to as overmatch the funding that we're going to give our contribution, which is kind of divvying up between $2 million throughout the county. But like I say, most townships are great partners. Superior's been great partners as well. And kind of to that point, and I'm kind of leading what we talked about with Emily and folks with Lori as well. They're kind of new to the road program in general. That necessity to kind of generate that asset management program, a plan, which is kind of some of the keywords that's in your packet for review. That's something that we've been working towards with most our township here for the past few years, just because it gives you a little bit of that goal, where you want to go in the future. Really what it does, it helps set up allocated funding. We'll touch a little bit in the local road packet, which is in the board packet. It's also available online. And if you have questions, I can help, or you guys can email me. I have my contact information and help anyone with specific questions for the sake of time to kind of work through that packet that we said before. So there are really three means of generating that funding. So some townships is pretty popular right now is special assessment districts for subdivision specific work, because those roads typically serve the people in that community, that specific community, where you have then your collector roads. So use Cherry Hill as an example, where you're going to move people to and from in and out of the community. So it's going to service thousands of cars a day in some cases, tens of thousands some of the busier roads. But our primary road system is our responsibility. We use the Michigan Transportation Fund and some the county millage obviously up to that as well. That's the roads and non-motorized millage. So that's kind of a funding source that we handle all the primary roads and large bridges that we have throughout the county. And then the second option, some townships have done their own individual road millages. More specific and most recent to start that program was Webster Township. They passed the millage last year and have started to set that millage forward for a 2-year program. But really that becomes board opportunity and board decision and prerogative at that point. But like I say, we have a couple options for that. And then some townships do fund, and Superior's on that as well, just from the general fund, a little bit more limited. And so that's where it comes into us really strategizing and picking where we're going to work on. With that, I kind of touch on Cherry Hill specific. As we started planning and trying to education portion of everything for Emily and Lori specific this year, and we covered this with all of our new township officials throughout the county. We really started talking about what kind of funding we have available and what the township really could sustain funding wise for the year. So knowing that we had to keep ourselves within $200,000 or less dollars, we started strategizing what we're going to do. In the local road packet, as you review down through, there's a couple of mix of fixes, and what those are is just ways that we fix or repair a road or improve a road. Specific to a paved road, they're anywhere between 250 to 400,000 per lane mile, so per mile to resurface. And then you come to unpaved road systems, Cherry Hill being that, where our crews can go out there anywhere between $100,000 and $120,000 per mile. So more affordable, obviously different practice different type of material, different scenario in general, but we have to try to utilize what township funds are available, because you don't want to start a patchwork quilt and only do a little bit one year, a little bit of next year. Our goal is to complete a segment of road and then schedule or plan to do a next segment of road and then kind of move throughout. It does take time. It isn't a short process. As you see, most villages are anywhere between, 4 and 10 years. So it takes quite a bit of time to really establish that. Knowing that the township was still in the process of figuring out that road program, kind of a road plan. I made the suggestion we need to look just to a 3 to 5 year plan for right now, just to get things moving and give the township board some time to kind of wrap their heads around this, make some good decisions, both financially and logically on where we need to move throughout the county, or throughout the township. So that's where Cherry Hill really came into play. Our area foreman gets numerous requests. We fielded one today in dust control, and I lost where the gentleman was. Oh, okay, there we go. So yeah, we try to maintain that road as best we can. Essentially, limestone starts to break down over the course of 8 to 10 years. And as it's broke down, it just becomes finer and finer and finer, and then you get the continual dust. And we kind of refer to that as fugitive dust, because that's kind of the particles holding the road together. And as the road becomes just basically all pulverized into powder, it's hard for us to maintain as well. We can only do so much with it. And so that's why we want to start. And I say start as in use a little bit of logic. This is where the logistical side comes in, where the pavement ends on Cherry Hill at the old asphalt plant or old pit there area. And then moving back to the east here, we try to start in one area and then progress across to another main road and then progress back to that main road. Try to, be able to link as much as we can with the community together. So that's why Cherry Hill kind of took that importance for us to kind of check off one issue as we go. And then really give the board the time to kind of build those thoughts. And obviously we'll work with them and kind of process this as we can. We know there's some, paving desires throughout the township as well. And so that's obviously a bigger investment. And so that takes engineering time, that takes design and planning. So usually a little bit more money attached to that. So we try to make sure township has the funding set up before we kind of set a group of engineers out and then bid a project like that out, because we don't want to put the township into a position of overextending with the budget. So budgets are a bit limited at times, but that's kind of what brings us to where we have to do with what we have. And that's what we're doing in 2025. Certainly going to plan and keep developing as we go, but that was our initial goal to kind of start the process forward to help the township.
You just want to emphasize too, Cherry Hill was the road commission's recommendations to the township.
Correct. Yes. So our area foreman, our superintendents, our communication staff, myself, we all kind of monitor what requests we get and kind of what notes we have in just general field conditions. And then as we started to line up what funding we had available, like I say, working within reason that $200,000 mark, with our contribution is about $126,522, give or take, for the township. So really need to stay between $300,000 to do that. So we're able to get almost 2 miles of road done. So that was kind of our pick for that. Mike Massey, the area foreman, he's been foreman up here for a while. He's our senior foreman. A lot of trust in the field. He's very productive when it comes to that. As soon as I told him we need 5 priorities for the township, his first response in a couple of seconds was Cherry Hill. So he has a goal to kind of build that road across, because he knows a lot of people kind of use that to bring themselves back to Prospect. That is our suggestion.
The team is working to get us a 5-year plan.
Yep. Yeah. So I don't know if you attach that. Now I can email back to the group. So we had done just a general. I can show people. We had kind of Mike's 5 priority system here of kind of the segments road that we want to work in, which is kind of the central port, the northern part of the township on the unpaved roads. And then as you talk a little further, and if subdivisions, you want to look into resurfacing, then we just put that in. We'll have to use the engineering team a little bit for that, because that's a little beyond our purview. That you actually have to engineer some of those projects. So we can kind of fit those in as we go. But yes, it's a simple spreadsheet. We make them just exactly the same way we use our spreadsheets throughout the rest of the county for our primary system. It'll just be reduced down to Superior Township. So we'll have essentially the road mileage, and then kind of a slide chart that'll tell you how many years, 8 years from now, we can get here this much money. And a little bit of estimation as they go into that, because you do see a little bit of inflation as you go through the program, but we're seeing 6% or less right now. So fingers crossed it stays that way. And then we can keep that moving forward. But it does take a little bit of time, and kind of the 5-year window is like where I think we should start, just to give us some head start there.
Can you explain to us how your dust control program works?
Yeah,
Dust control program.
yeah, so
How does it
dust,
work?
what's that?
How does it work?
Dust control is pretty simplistic. So we try to monitor current weather conditions, kind of the road surfaces. And then in 2022, we drew that back in. What I mean by drew that back in is previously to 2022, we would actually partner with the townships, and the townships would pay for the applications. So in 2022, we made a decision to pull it into maintenance one, so we could control it better, so we weren't worried about just billing cycles or getting 3 done, to actually do as much as we need when we need it. So we drove that back in-house, and then obviously that's, bless you, that provided, I think in Superior Township, probably the better part of $40,000 to $60,000 back to the township board to spend just on roads. So that was something we did across the board throughout all 20 townships. So the foreman will recognize that and kind of get on a cycle. So our foremen are usually responsible for anywhere between 3 and 4 townships. So our district township, or excuse me, our district 6, which is what Superior Township is in, Salem, Superior, Northfield, and Ann Arbor. And so all 4 of those townships are just on a part of this site. And so you're going to see us probably once a month at least throughout the summer. They'll come through, because you're going to get about 3 applications, sometimes 4 if needed. But if we have years like this where you get a bunch of rain in between, we'll leave the road sit as is, because the more we go out and grade the road, we actually break that limestone down and inevitably, degrade the road while we're actually taking care of it. So we try to balance that, but it's very simplistic. We try to react when we see it, and things on a bit of a rhythm and routine, because once again, same things with construction. We don't want to bounce all over the place because we may miss something, or inevitably just spend more money going, 3 different directions, maybe just to.
But where's Jerry Hill, on it was for this?
For right now, I don't know my schedule. I can get it and send it back to the board. I didn't ask him about that today when I spoke with him. I believe they were in Ann Arbor last time I spoke with them. It was 2 weeks ago. What's that?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyways, I'll get a schedule and send that back to the board.
Ms. Deborah was first.
Well, that's okay, if it's related, go for it.
Okay.
No, you go ahead.
You got it? All right.
You got it.
So I have a couple questions. So one, I heard you say that we're getting almost 2 miles of road improvement on Cherry Hill. So the entire length of the road is how long in Superior Township?
Probably 6
Okay.
miles, I believe.
And do we have in our, I'm sorry, what's
Probably 5.5.
Okay. And do we have in this 3 to 5 year plan, which I don't think I've seen, that might be on me, but.
No, we're still building it.
Oh, you're in the middle of it. Okay, got it.
I'll help you here, because our deadline was May 2nd. To
Okay,
actually get the program started, so we knew that we had planning to do, so we kind of lengthened that for Superior. And so we have to kind of see where we're going first, so we can start building like we were here in 2025, and that kind of starts our slide chart a little bit.
okay, and will that plan include kind of all of the roads that we need to improve? What the cost, potentially would be and how they stack up against each other? Because I think what's hard for me right now is taking something like the Stanford Road issue that we heard about in public comment, that we've heard about in a lot of public comments, and trying to understand from a cost perspective and also a community perspective, how that stacks up against fixing 1.8 miles worth of a 6-mile road.
Yep, yeah, so, let's see, the best way to probably describe that, there's 2 ways you can have them. So some townships have them all lumped together that have the funding to do that. Other townships, we've separated out paving, as phase work, and then roads, so the unpaved system, kind of those collector roads. So yeah, it can be any way that the board, desires. It's simply just data putting on the screen. Balancing it, in comparison would be using our Pazer charts for the paved system that's in the local road packet. But do know with when a road's red, you're anywhere between $250,000 $400,000 a mile. Specific to Stanford Road, that's not surface based, that's drainage based. So there's a desire to rebuild a whole drainage system you could touch $1 million. It changing everything from what it is, but that's something that has to be designed, engineered a little bit. Our plan is just to try to add more water into the system. But that's something that you kind of have to balance the cost of it. But surface specific, you can use those pavement surface ratings for that.
Sure. And last question, and I'll pass it over to Trustee Green. So obviously in our township, right, we have almost equal number of dirt roads versus paved roads.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have a criteria like that we can look at to help us understand how would we prioritize when we're looking at the full scope of road and mileage throughout the township?
Do you mean between paved and unpaved?
Yeah, just across, I realized that, I think what I heard you say, Adam, was that for townships that have the money to do it, like looking across the entire system, we don't. So having an understanding of how would I go about comparing the needs on a dirt road to the needs in paved roads?
Yep, so needs on the unpaved road system is usually because you can cover more ground. It's a collector road, so it's moving more traffic. And then you have your comparison, which is hard, but that's where the tough decisions come in, where we try to help and we try to strategize cost and what funding we have available. Paved subdivision only services the people in the subdivision. And so that's where townships have to make difficult decisions of which direction they want to go. I mean, it's literally it's an unfortunate thing, but it's a decision that has to be made. And then you just design what kind of projects that the budget can support. You don't want to let a paved road go to complete utter failure where you're seeing mud and everything come up through the bottom, because then you're reconstructing and it's very expensive. It's almost $1 million a mile to fully rebuild the whole system. So you have to balance that, but that's where you use those PASER ratings, because then you start phasing in paving work. So a half a subdivision in 2026, and then a half a subdivision in 2028. And you have to, because the pavement will last longer than an unpaved road. A paved road in a subdivision, you probably could get to anywhere 10 years, 15 years out. Some would last even longer with some intermediary maintenance. So kind of like maintenance measures where you can seal cracks, things like that. An unpaved road, you're going to get 8 to 10 years max. If you have a lot of traffic, 5 to 7 years before this gets degraded and the stones get basically polished.
All right, I've got more, but I'll pass it over to Brent.
Yeah, well, you can email me. I can help you.
Appreciate it.
Sure, appreciate it. Thank you, Trustee Deborah, for the questions. Thank you, Adam, for coming today. As you know, roads is a high interest topic in our township. I want to speak again to the Stanford Road issue because I heard you, and if I'm understanding your rationale for the Cherry Hill recommendation is that Cherry Hill is considered a high volume road ranking. So based on how we utilize management fund, there's best, but
because it's collecting traffic, so it's moving more traffic through the township.
Sure, I understand that. I guess my concern is I'm thinking about as opposed to traffic volume, also thinking about the personal costs that is associated with a resident losing cars, redoing their property and things of that nature. So I just want to ask a very straightforward question. Is it possible for us to use matching funds for neighborhood roads? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But it's up to the township's discretion as to how we choose to.
Yep, that's a township board. Yeah, that's a township board prerogative. Like I say, most townships, they pick and choose. You probably split. Some townships this size have one with SADs just simply because it's hard to support that.
Special assessment districts.
Correct. Township run, it could be road commission run, you can do millages. It's a mix of fixes when it comes to funding source, but the local road matching funding money can certainly be used on it. But $126,000 was really quick.
Sure. And so the road commission's priority is to make sure that they're addressing the roads that obtain the most value, whereas our township priorities, might be different as far as making sure we're taking care of our residents. And so you're saying that the recommendation was given because you're looking at value and you're trying to give us a good starting point to make a decision as far as planning for future roads, and that means neighborhood roads, right? About how we can potentially address those issues.
Yeah, I mean, I think I want you to be able to get as much done as you can. You could quickly spend all the money in one area, you may not be able to catch up to it later on because other things are going to degrade as you're going. So yeah, that's exactly conscious of the budget and the funding that was available.
Sure.
That's what we decided to set forth as a priority because we know we could achieve more physical.
So your recommendation to the side I know that me and you spoke earlier just before the meeting. I know you've had several conversations with Ms. Fuller. What is going to be done in the interim to help reduce, or what can this township board do to help reduce the amount of flooding that happens on Stanford Road? I know myself have gone out and cleared that drain during some storms, and I know that they have been doing it for.
Yeah, as myself, actually, when I was superintendent as well, and even as a director, I've kind of kept an eye on it. But biggest thing is, yes, our goal is to, and this is just maintenance, so it doesn't cost the township. We essentially try to find a new style of grate that might draw more physical inflow, so more water physically into the hole. But inevitably it gets blocked, it's still blocked. So for us, we're gracious and we're really excited and feel great that people try to clear it themselves, but we don't have to. We're on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and every day of the year. If any resident starts to see debris or the possibility, you just call us and our group responds. Our foreman will get called and has less than an hour to respond. In that area, he's kind of from the Ypsilanti area, so he probably can be there in 35, 40 minutes. And we usually we call it kick it off, clear the drain off, and try to just create opportunity for water to go in. And there's some other options that we can partner with the township on, which is supplemental sweeping. We do that in Ypsilanti Township, where the township pays for another round of sweeping throughout the year. So that'd be 3 times instead of 2. And so we can do that. And then a little bit more of a sensitive topic, which could remove all the trees in that area to try to remove any tree debris. Because every time we go out there, I see a lot of tree debris. But that's a little bit of a sensitive topic at times, but it is an option to at least review at the board level and decide. Relatively, generally easy cost to endure through the township side.
You mentioned replacing, and I'm sorry, I feel like I'm pulling up there.
I did for mine too.
You talked about replacing the grates. Is there a timeline or a cost associated with replacing the grates?
No cost. So we're doing that in maintenance. What our crews will do, Kent's crews will go out probably this fall, and they'll essentially remove the grate that's in the road. They'll remove that grate, and then they'll lower some basically new bricks in there. We call it casting. Basically a new ring will go in there, and then the new grate will sit on top of it. This one is basically set like in the driveway. And so whenever things were designed or built, somehow there's a structure there and they built the driveway right by it. And so we have to get a specific kind of grate that will kind of fit the curb, basically match the angle. And so we can't we refer to it as like a city inlet, which you see like New York City or something, has just a big opening, you can just take a bunch of water down into the system. You couldn't put that in the driveway and it wouldn't match the curb line because the cars would get stuck on it. So we're going to put that grate on there. That should draw more water in, but inevitably, we'll still have to clean it and have to get calls when we come out. Because I don't see the tree debris stopping, the grass clipping stopping, but at least another option to try to draw more water into the system. But the system itself, as noted, is functioning. We videoed it, we've inspected it. I know the Water Resources Commission we call it's kind of downstream, but in theory, it's their system. But I believe our system outputs into that as well. So I'm not sure what improvements they're doing this summer there. They were going to start a few weeks ago. I don't know if they were able to with the water. So that was the last time I talked to Scott Miller about the specific. So I think that's going to take more water out of the system, which in theory could create more of a vacuum and you draw more water through. But the physical capacity is in that 3-foot diameter main, or we call it, that's underneath the side.
I'll have more questions.
You do?
I will have more questions.
Right.
Yeah.
Sounds good. And I want to flag, you mentioned the PACER report and just something, to be clear, it only relates to paved roads. And it does make note that the unpaved roads, we rely primarily on the local foreman to do the analysis and make the judgment that those unpaved roads are not included in the map. But within the PACER report, it seems to me that nearly all of our neighborhood roads are showing in the red.
Yeah, I think there are 3 or 4 that we've done in previous years. We've done little segments that we started that are in like the greens and the yellows. But yeah, the good majority, and it's not just Superior Township. Unfortunately, it's quite a few townships where big boom of development, in the early 2000s, late 90s, have essentially left multiple road systems, degraded to the point where they're in poor, bad shape. So So it's a monumental task a lot of townships are working through right now. Pittsfield, Ypsilanti Township, keep pretty busy with that. York Township is starting to sunset a little bit. There are a few a few subdivisions in Augusta Township that they have to work through. Ann Arbor Township is a little bit less, but they still inevitably have the same circuit system that they're trying to maintain as well.
Any other questions or comments from the board, Mr. Schultz?
Thanks. Adam, thanks for coming tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
So we're talking about the Stanford Road drainage issue. And generally, isn't it true that a local drainage issue like that is primarily either the road commissioner or the drain commissioner's financial responsibility to maintain?
Yeah, maintenance wise, that's everything. So anything we've done here, like cleaning, vacuuming, videoing, all that's all maintenance stuff, the structure repair.
And has that been done to, that stretch?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, as recent as this spring, we did video inspection with a third party. Then we cleaned the whole entire system and the main, so the trunk line so the drains drain down into what we call the main, and that's the big thing, similar to your water, because that takes the water away. In this case, just goes into outflow.
In that main pipe right now, the town of capacity to handle these flash flood events?
No, it's perfectly fine. It's 36 inches. It's got quite a bit of diameter. It's just what we run into is the top gets blocked. Because as soon as you clear the block, it backs everything down. It's just that debris blocking.
You think most of the blocks that we saw in photographs were due to drainage blocks as opposed to incapacity within the system?
I highly doubt incapacity. A system could be inundated if we get, a half an inch an hour, the 2022 and 2023, I believe we had some heavy rain events where we got like an inch an hour. That caused some of the flooding that was in Ypsilanti.
Well, it dissipated within a couple hours. Generally.
Yes, yeah, especially this system seems to be pretty functional, pretty efficient. Once we clear the top off, it goes down relatively quickly. So it's just a saturation afterwards.
Yeah. Is there a recommendation on right now from the road commission on the Stanford Road drain? Or is it just see how it goes?
No. So we'll put that new grade on it, but really the main recommendation is there's a sense that there's debris or could be debris, just call us. And even if you call us twice a week, that's something that we can respond to. That's what our crew is trained to do. We have equipment that we can back it if we think it's dirty, but most of the time we just need to clear the top.
So you're talking about debris on the drain side?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, blocking the inlet.
We've seen it.
Yeah, and when I've kind of went through that subdivision is in general, everything's kind of the same age, so it's all doing the same thing. The structures are inset, so that's good. So it takes the water, but it also takes all the debris and sets it on top. And once you kick them off, they all function very good.
So on the Cherry Hill issue, I think at the last meeting, maybe I'm wrong or I didn't pay attention, but we had approved an agreement for like 300,000 to repave, not to pay, but to improve the Cherry Hill Road from Prospect to, I thought, Rains Lake was down. Now, when you're talking about less than 200,000 tonight, and you're talking about all the way from Prospect to the paved portion of Cherry Hill down by the main site?
Yeah, that's our goal. But no, that got, I think, transcribed. So where we are right now is end of pavement, where Cherry Hill comes by like the animal clinic and then starts back down the hill. So end of pavement there to Frames Lake Road is the segment we're in right now. And then if we get savings, what Ken and I were talking today, if we get savings this year, we'd like to either start preparing whether it be forestry or drainage, or if we have enough savings to just keep moving towards Prospect Road, trying to get that whole segment.
So you believe that the cost from the end of pavement to
Frames Lake
less than 200,000?
Well,
it'll be less than 305,000, I think, is what we had in the agreement. Because you add our match money.
And to clarify for the public, it was about 176 of ours, and the rest was a match from county roads.
Yeah, so that was kind of the math I talked about that we were working with. It gets a little hard to understand, but our road commission contribution is basically broke out through population, road mileage, all throughout the county. Equating Spear Township gets $126,500 some dollars. And so that money is given. So essentially, you spend $240,000, you get your 50% match, and so that's what we're working off the 176 or something.
I thought we were originally going to do from Prospect to Cranes Lake, and
okay.
I thought like there's material there that we don't have down where we have our assets, our township assets, which is Cherry Hill Nation.
Yep.
and also come online to be Birdsong Park.
Mhm.
So that is pretty much barren of material, and plus there's like 3 hills.
Yeah.
So those hills, like, you know, when they drain, they take all the material with them.
Yep.
And you cut ruts on the sides and.
Yeah, so and sorry if there's any confusion. I checked the agreement, but I don't know if it might have got confused just by the relay information. But yeah, we're certainly going to come from the pavement back this way to the east. So probably a little bit more help is gonna kind of encompass those areas. And then, like I said, these savings ideally for this year, we'd like to keep prepping and keep moving back towards prospect.
Well, how much is it a ton this year, limestone, you know?
Geez, I think we're,
At 25.
no, I think we're even higher than, I think we're almost 30 now, I think. It's $28, $29 a ton.
So as part of this improvement, you would be doing drainage work also. to
Yep.
Do some ditch work and
Yep.
possibly remove trees if necessary to improve.
Yeah, so crew will trim trees, remove dead dying trees or something's obstructing any drainage. Then perform the drainage improvement that you're kind of accustomed to, or we'll pull the excess material, the organic material off the side of the road. And essentially prepare the shoulder for when we put the limestone lift on, so about 6 inches of limestone that gives the water somewhere to go. And starts to make the road look a little bit more like a paved road where water can actually be conveyed in a ditch or on the shoulder as opposed to stone.
So when I was in the past, you know, I was always a little trepidatious or had trepidation about improving Cherry Hill because we had so many people from Canton and cut through traffic using it.
Yeah.
Compared to our own people, if you like add up the households, you have less households on the whole 6 miles of Cherry Hill than you have on the 1 mile or 2 miles in Gale. But last year we did Gale Road from Getty to Gridland. Right. The crews did a phenomenal job.
Yeah,
They
that
replaced
group
all
is
the
pretty.
culverts, they added the 4 to 6 inches. And they cleaned all the trees up and protected the trees from the oak wilt at the same time.
Yeah, so our crew's pretty good in District 6, that's this area here that's responsible for this area. But kind of another logistical reason why our goal is to kind of improve over there first, because you're moving your people a little bit more there. People could from Canton, no offense to them, they can come to Prospect and use the primary system, you know, we spend plenty of money to build them the primary system and kind of reserve your roads a little bit for your own. I mean, obviously we can't police that, but yeah, do the improving where the township's, priority is, and we kind of know there's traffic over there. That's like,
Well, you're gonna have with a title dumpster out here.
right.
It's me to find bases of scale.
Yeah,
We had to get rid of South Service.
Really?
Really wasn't improving our community.
yeah, so that's kind of, and that's probably why Mike Massey said, no, I want to go pavement.
Well, I feel better about doing that part of Cherry Hill first, because I think that's needs it more.
Think about
But I
something.
would still like to see us be able to do some pavement down the subdivisions. I would just throw out there, I think Canton from, Nottingham, Court to Devon
Okay.
is probably the road in worst condition in, Washington Square at this point. Probably the one that could use to improve the most.
Well,
I'll let the right figure that out.
yeah, that's what I think that's something, as the board kind of puts your head around this, really just figure out what kind of funding that can support it. And
So I want to emphasize that when we first spoke, I showed you our budget, we had $250,000 allocated to work with county roads, and until we saw our actuals, I didn't feel comfortable bringing to this board something that was at the 250. So with that 175, we may have the ability to do another project or two within the community that was spent.
Well, and even just get the planning started for.
Several?
No, that's just, planning is huge, because it takes time to get things together, make a decision, design it. So we're coming in and doing the right things, we don't want to get in and find a surprise and start removing asphalt and find mud. Because you find mud because there's not much left, and then your cost just kind of exponentially grows. It makes us lose sleep at night, so.
So just two final questions for me at the moment. So one, the 3 to 5 year plan that you were talking about with that prioritization, what's the timeline around getting that to us?
As soon as we have an agreement, I can build the last couple roads, the other 4 roads into that. And then really just start listing all the roads. We're talking a few days to put those together. Just, these are general planning ideas. If you do want subdivision specific, what I recommend right now, if you can wrap your head around both, is we'll do a subdivision one. And just because that's going to be a little bit more pick your spot on the map where you want to start. in the phase, because basically all the roads need something. And then we'll use the local road electors as its own, which is, it'll be perfectly fine, I think, for you, but it'll help you kind of balance both at one time to figure out where you want to go, or how much money goes to each of the respective types of work.
You recommend at least a 5-year plan, correct?
I would, yes. I mean, you wanna kind of exercise that, and also what it does, and this is no offense to anyone in the room, but what we coach with a lot of townships, 5 years will likely take you beyond some people's board seat, which helps because then you have a little bit of congruency, and then you start the process where, well, this is how much money we use for roads. And so then it's easier for people to come on board to learn at the township level, so you can use kind of data that you had before and kind of move it forward. We've seen that in a few townships helps where they had some intermittent people had to step down and come forward. So we've seen some success with that, but I would say 5 years because you got to start looking for what kind of funding you want to allocate to that.
Sure. And then last question, if we were to reallocate, if we were to do a budget amendment and we were to reallocate additional funds from other priorities and decide that we wanted to make additional investments in the township, in our roads, is that something that your schedule, like that the planning requirements from a timeline perspective, is that something you're able to accommodate?
For 2025?
Yeah.
I would say paving, you're probably not going to be able to build any pavement projects this year, but if you want to do more collector roads or something like that, or start prepping roads, you can certainly do that. But the design portion and getting with our contractor and adding quantity to the paving project, we start to kind of run out of time this time of year because about end of October, November, you really start running up against the limit of temperatures.
Sure, but we could start doing some planning and kind of get ahead of it for 2026.
Oh, yeah, I would like yesterday start planning.
Yeah.
We'll help you through that. We start planning in our fall. So ideally in another month or so, we want to talk about next year anyways, and especially if we want to talk pavement. Because then, and this is no offense, but we'll bring a whole other team of engineers with us that are built to kind of work through that and help you guys through that. And then they can also help with funding sources. And so we have kind of departments that can help with that and expedite it all of it. Right?
Thank you.
Yep.
So
Certainly.
this is a clarifying question for me. Special assessment districts versus villages. So if we were to, so as we're thinking about this 3 or this 5-year plan for roads, would we have to do a special assessment district for each individual subdivision? Or like, for example, what is classified as the urban service district, what residents might refer to as South Gates, would that be, would we be able to assign that as a special assessment district?
So we can get you specific info on that if you start, like, you can map it out for us, but specifically, yes is an easy answer to that, but you want to talk to your legal counsel and make sure that that's acceptable. Other townships have done township-wide SADs, but it gets a little cloudy at some point. But if you're talking a specific area of 1 or 2 subdivisions, yeah, it may actually be easier if you may get more support that way. But that's really something we can kind of help coach on. But at the board level, it becomes the board's kind of prerogative and responsibility to see kind of the temperature of their constituents like that. Regular millages, you would just set the millage and kind of move forward. So in our local road packet, there's quite a bit of information on the last few pages, just general planning numbers that you can use for like seeing what kind of funds you would have to secure to implement that type of product. I can get a little more specific if you have questions about that. I can get you a little bit more specific information and details. What we see most times is a specific area that partners to do it, but that's quite frankly in the 12 years I've seen it is just because that subdivision or that road, just that group of people wanted to do that. But there is some, I think, freedom to move that around from the township level. The road commission, we're pretty limited. When we start an SAD or if we administer one, we basically can only get to approach the properties that touch the road. We're a township board can kind of assess it. If you need experience or questions about that, we have quite a few townships that have done that in a multitude of different ways. So we can bring them to you guys to talk to you about that offline if you'd like.
Thank you. Mr. Schwartz?
So this is kind of for Emily. And so last month, we approved a contract or agreement with the road commission, but it called for something different that we're talking about tonight. So that one particularly called, I believe, from Prospect to Frames Lane.
Okay.
But what we're really talking about is in the pavement to Frames Lane, the opposite.
Correct.
side of that.
Yeah, so the west side.
Right, so we may need a different, agreement. for
I'll
that.
check, yeah, I'm in your board packet really quick, I don't know which. Page.
Wait, I double checked.
But in all honesty, I mean, if you guys wanna check and let me know, that's something we can issue, and we can spin that tomorrow if there's some, I think when I looked at today, at least the one I looked at. I think there weren't typos on it, but just please check and make sure math is good. And we can get that to the board. And if it takes another 2 weeks before you get to sign it, that's when we have to, that's. Okay, this one, really, we just kind of need it's a pretty much general consensus, right, to start planning.
For our record, we should identify temporary or.
Oh, yeah.
Improving,
Yeah.
it's different than what was stated in the prior agreement.
Yeah, I would definitely, if
it's not.
there were any typos, yeah, if there were no typos, then we head on, if we get it signed, we'll move forward and start planning, you guys have it? Okay.
On page 330, there's the resolution.
Let me get a quick.
That's correct.
Is it? Okay,
Cherry Hill Road from the end of pavement to Brands Lake Road.
perfect, okay.
Same improvements, heavy brushing, surface draping, application of 6 inches of limestone.
Yep. Okay, yeah, so what we'll be able to do is just, once we get that signed back, then, Mike's already kind of cleaned up for it anyway. But,
We're gonna put it on.
okay, yeah, and so we can keep that moving, and then we'll just start our planning. And get some stuff that we guys have, so we get there to do that.
Shame on.
We can keep things moving.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you. We've got one more presentation. Appreciate everybody's patience. We've got a Plant Moran proposal for accounting services. Is there a motion to bring that?
So.
For, all in favor?
Aye.
Welcome.
Thank you very much for your time, and I promise that I will keep this as brief as I possibly can. I do want to say thank you for the time today. I know that you have an item under new business for an accounting services contract. It's not my firm. I'm hoping that by hearing me or meeting me this evening that you'll table or vote that one down and consider hiring Plant Moran instead. So next slide, please. My name is Brian Kendler. I'm more attractive on screen than I am in person. I'm sorry about that. But I've been doing this for 27 years, serving local units of government. First 15 years as an auditor, the last 12 years as a consultant doing what I'm proposing, providing internal accounting services to local units of all shapes and sizes. I am a regular speaker on the government conference circuit. Clerk Robinson may have seen me at MTA conference. I know she met us at our booth. I'm a regular presenter for the MGFOA's Back to Basics. I teach the water and sewer rate setting class for Michigan Municipal League, et cetera, et cetera. Those are my credentials. I've been doing this a while. Next slide, please. Now, if you're not familiar with Plant Moran, we are 101 years old this year. Started in Detroit. For the last 27 years, the same amount of time I've been with the firm, we've been on Fortune Magazine's list of the top 100 places in America to work. Coincidence? Yes, most likely. Next slide. So I've dedicated my career to serving the public sector. I'm not the only one. There are hundreds of us and dozens of partners like myself, and all we do is work with local units of government, both here in Michigan and across the country. The other areas that are on that slide, wonderful services, wonderful industries, but our heart is in public sector and mine specifically is with government. This is literally all that I do. Next slide, please. For more quick stats on our practice, we are quite big. We have been serving local units of government for just over 80 years. Over 500 clients across the assurance practice, the PM GAP group that I lead, and then our various consulting practices. Next slide, please. So really here is the nuts and bolts of what we do in PM GAP. I call it the ABCs. this is what the other firm has proposed on, this is what you're searching for, and this is what we deliver. Audit preparation is number one. A comment was made earlier about an audit. I haven't read the report yet, but I ensure that whatever findings are in there, they can be solved, and we do a pretty good job of helping communities fix those. Second item, B for budget. I love doing government budgets. It's probably my favorite thing because we know we're going to amend it, so we don't have to be perfect. And then controllership, bank recs, journal entries. I see all the kids in the audience for sleeping, but this stuff is really exciting to us. We really enjoy doing local unit government accounting. Next slide. So it all boils down to this. You have a proposal from another firm. I worked with them on occasion. Ms. Coogan, who was here, was actually my client once upon a time when she was at the City of Livonia. So it's a very small group of people that do this. We all know each other quite well, but I do believe that we are the right option for Superior Township for these 4 reasons. Plant Moran does more local government work than any other firm in the state of Michigan. 2 of the 3 members of the proposed team live right next door in Canton Township. I'm 10 minutes away. If there is something that requires assistance, I literally can be here in under 10 minutes. I'll try to avoid the roads that folks don't want us going on. For the Canton people. A deep bench. So the firm that you're working with is a good firm. There's qualified people that work there, but there aren't that many of them. Our team is almost 40. Not that you're going to have this nameless, faceless blob of people in the background that do the work for you. You'll have your team. But in the event, someone leaves, someone goes on vacation, someone gets sick. Believe it or not, of our entire team, I'm the only male on the team. So we have a lot of pregnancies here and there and family leaves and such, but that happens everywhere. Our deep bench allows us to have uninterrupted service no matter what happens. Number 3, the scalable service model. So I was very impressed when I spoke with Clerk Robinson and with Ms. Mason. You have a qualified person here. And the question is, what are the gaps in her experience to cover everything else? And we don't know the answer to that question yet. She hasn't been given the opportunity. But whatever those gaps are, that's what PM Gap does, is we fill those gaps. So we are able to ramp up and ratchet down our service depending on the time of year, depending on what is going on, whatever the particular needs are. Come budget time, expect the time to go up. Come audit time, expect the time to go up. The rest of the year, expect it to come down. There is no minimum requirement in terms of hours that we're asking for. There's no request for a certain dollar amount. If by some chance you decide, well, that Brian, he's kind of a clown, we don't want him working with us, we will go away same day. There is no obligation to maintain us for the next 6 months or the next year if you're not happy with the service. And just by the way, that doesn't happen. We stay here forever, usually. And then competitive pricing. So the proposal that we've given you has 2 options for service. One, a graduated rate card, so that the most experienced people charge more, the least experienced are charged at a lesser rate, or a blended hourly rate for all of us, no matter who it is. Most of our new clients in the last year or so prefer that method because you don't have to figure out who's the right person for the cost to get my question answered. You just call the person that you think is going to have the right answer, and it costs the same no matter what. And assuming that this engagement ends up being of a higher level of skill and expertise needed, because you do already have Ms. Mason, then that hourly rate that's blended for me, my senior manager, that's lower than the rate that is in the proposal that you have to vote on later today. So altogether, I do believe, yes, I'm biased, but I do believe that Plant Moran is the best solution for this township. I would be honored to work with you and for you, and I guarantee that you will be happy with that service. So pretty please consider Plant Moran. when that item in new business comes up. Thank you.
Any questions before?
Good question. So thank you for this very thorough proposal. So my question to you is, we, oftentimes have financial questions that might come up during board meetings. Will somebody from Hunt Moran be available during our regular board meetings to answer questions from us or from the public?
Everything is on an hourly basis, so if you want us to live here, we can. If you prefer to aggregate those questions and send them to us the next day,
Sure.
that might be more cost effective, but if you want us here or need us here, we'll be here.
Thank you.
Can you ballpark what a township our size, somewhere around there, you might spend in a year? Your growth?
It's all over the place because everybody is unique and everyone's skills and gaps are unique. But from what I read in your proposal, the idea was $100,000. At our $195 an hour, that's 512 hours. I think that's too much, quite honestly. It's hard to say just how much less it would be, but that does seem excessive, given that you have an accounting person still on staff.
You're not saying 100,000.
No, ma'am, I'm saying I think that is excessive.
So the original group's proposal, to 100,000. Excuse me?
You talk about the 100 PM Gap University. So
Yes.
you may have Miss Mason, who's great, but we recognize there's some areas that she potentially growing in. I think she would say the same too here today. So, I mean, I gotta give you credit. You use self-deprecation well, like it's a tool often deployed, but not often mastered. So kudos to you. Our goal would be able to make sure that she would, with your assistance, would be able to grow and obtain the skills. Either do like the original review that you kind of mentioned in your project plan. How will you all as presence like help her grow in this profession?
We'll be working side by side. And as I explained to Robinson and Ms. Mason on the phone the other day, I'm really excited at the prospect of us teaching her, but at the same time, her teaching us, because we don't know Superior Township. As far back as I can find Plant Moran records, we haven't done anything with Superior. So I love the opportunity to learn more about the community, but she and I and our team will be working like this all the time. And so whether it's, shoulder to shoulder, this is how this works, or if it's listening to one of my many lectures, either at PM Gap University or the MGFOA Back to Basics, she'll learn a lot. I get the impression that she's a sponge for information, and I'm pretty sure that they will be able to help feed that. Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead. So you're like an hourly rate.
Correct.
And if we need you like 4 hours a month, that's it.
Yes. If you want us to go away for a month, it's $0.
And then I just wanted to let you know too that you'll be working with the utilities department as well, because there is an accountant over there that handles just the utilities functions.
Yes,
For
correct.
an accountant.
I had worked with Plant Moran, back in the 90s and early 2000s with the community, and I was very impressed with the talent that you had back then, and your willingness to communicate on that. And I've also worked with this other group, through this township back in 14 and 15, that you have not there. So I don't know what we're doing tonight. Are we gonna take a vote on that contract tonight, or are we gonna delay it and
See,
consider?
that's what's confusing to me.
All right.
Interviewing him, but we have the other person on the agenda, it's very confusing to me tonight.
What I would recommend, and I think some of our board members might support as well, is that we bring both of these items back next month so that we don't rush to make a decision, since this is such an important opportunity and integral part of our community. Mr. Lucas, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question, and I guess, I'm sorry, Brian Pritt. Has Brian been provided the document, and the list of services that other group was going to be providing to
I
us?
think he's reviewed the contract that's in the board book right now.
Okay.
Also, I have a concern with this whole hiring process. We have not reached out in the community to get any applicants to apply for the positions. As far as I know, there's only 2 companies that know about it now, and that's the Woodhill Group and Plant Moran. Why is that? I mean, why is that? And the other group had a chance to visit each department, talk to employees, and find out their needs. This gentleman has not had that same equal opportunity. So I really have some concern. And I would like Plant Moran to have the same opportunity that the Woodhill Group had, to go to different departments, find out their need. And this whole process is confusing. And I would like to see equal opportunity done. And I don't see that being done with this decision.
Well, we can certainly table it. And I can make arrangements with, Brian to come in and get some information, meet with the other departments.
Love the opportunity.
Brett, what were you gonna say? I'm sorry.
Oh,
Are you done?
I'm listening.
Yeah, so we can definitely do that. And the reason why I didn't do like a RFP, that type of thing, is because half the year is over and the residents are asking questions.
That doesn't
And-
matter to me, just because we're not in a big hurry to do this. We want to do it right. And as far as the residents, I can understand them being concerned, but we can explain to them that we're trying to do it fairly. The residents would understand that.
Well, we have 2 reputable companies, and I feel that the 2 that we have, we would be able to choose between the 2 that we have.
But
But
I don't think 2 is enough.
And that's something that thank you. So there hasn't been a vote taken tonight. We are not on that resolution currently. We heard from Pam Moran. When we get to the resolution, we can make a decision to table or to no voting.
Right.
I think the points that Ms. McKinney has brought up are very valid. And we can move forward with that once we get to the resolution. But as for now, no vote has been taken.
Right.
Because the direction we were going in before, I think was gonna cause some serious problems for us. Just one person knew about the position, only one person had the opportunity to apply. I mean, there was no DEI done at all, as far as this position goes. And we would have gotten ourselves in a lot of trouble.
Mr. Schwartz.
So I think the prior board actually did go out, I'm going from memory, so I could be wrong, and actually published 4 RFPs, and we only got like 1.
See, I didn't know about that.
You're right. So I think that we have kind of done our due diligence. Now we need to I'd like to get an RFP from Plant Moran and then make a comparison. You can make a presentation and talk to people here. Same opportunity you gave the other group, and then we make a decision.
Yeah, it's right. It's only fair for him to have that.
Maybe you'd like to share something?
Yeah, so the RFP process for this type of service, it's actually pretty limited here in Metro Detroit. Other than Plant Moran and Woodhill, there's only 2 other firms that I'm aware of that do this. There are a few individuals that, retired from the city and they do it on the side. There are a handful of those, but there's not a tremendous amount of competition. Most of these jobs do tend to be 75% the same. Accounts payable is accounts payable, reconciling cash, property taxes. It's pretty cookie cutter. The other 25% is unique to you versus Canton versus Plymouth versus whoever. But even though it's unique, it's still in the same ballpark. So I would love the opportunity to meet with your team, but it's actually not necessary for me to understand the job that you're asking for and the services that are being asked to be
But we
provided.
want to give you that same equal opportunity.
I'll take it. If you'd like me to, I would love to.
Ms. Dunbar?
195.
I think one of the things that's different about what Plant Moran is proposing versus the Woodhill Group is that they are offering flexibility, no minimum commitment, and a blended rate, which means that they can go in and they can have conversations and do some of that needs analysis, whereas the Woodhill Group is asking us for a top line of $100,000 and a year-long commitment.
Yeah.
So they have to come in and make sure that they understand first Whereas this, which is very attractive to me, I always love things where there's no commitment and a lot of flexibility. There's just a lot more optionality for us in terms of the amount of service that we get and the types of services that we're able to contract.
I feel similarly, Mr. Green.
So I appreciate a lot of discussion that's been had. I mean, you gave a brilliant presentation. Would it be in the board's best interest to move forward and we kind of consider both options and?
Yeah, that's how
I second that. No, we're not seconding. No, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's go.
Okay. The discussion is ended. On the discussion, yeah, good. We'll be in touch. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll give you a call.
Thank you.
Right, now moving to the consent agenda. Is there?
Move the consent agenda.
Report. I will, want to flag two things, just for, if you all can take a look at the planning assistance grant denial from Getty's Ridge. I'm sorry, from Getty's Road, just want to flag that, please take a look. And then also the Trinity Health job fair, that'll be here this Thursday. Really excited to have Trinity Health, encouraging applicants for our community, they'll be here at Town Hall. And it's going to focus on the job training and entry level roles, which I think is really important. But yes, I would like to second receiving and filing the consent agenda.
Support.
Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? Right, nothing was moved from the consent agenda, which was item 9, 10, unfinished business. We have none. We have new business under 11, and the first item is A, resolution 2025-40, the resolution to amend the rates, fees, and charges related to water services provided by the Superior Township Utility Department.
Move to resolution.
Support. Any discussion, or Cheryl will vote? All in favor? Sorry, roll call.
Roll call. Schwartz,
Yes.
Robinson, yes, McKinney,
Yeah.
Green,
Yes.
Devereaux,
Yes.
Davish Akheim,
Yes. Okay, resolutions approved. Moving to B, resolution 2025-41, a resolution to approve change order number 2 for the Stanford Road Water Main Replacement Project.
Move to resolution.
Support. So in our roll call?
yes. Davish Akheim,
Aye.
Devereaux,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Robinson, yes, Schwartz,
With the motion, the resolution is approved. Moving to C, resolution 2025-42, resolution to approve the hiring of supervised firefighters. I'd like to thank these young men for being with us in the audience for the last little bit. If you could, anticipating a hello from the board, could you please join us up here? Mr. Rush and Mr. Anstead?
Sorry, gentlemen, I know it's late.
Thank you for being here.
Real quick, we need a motion and support.
So moved.
Second.
Or
Now, this will bring our firefighters to 11. We have 9 now, or,
We have 12 now,
okay,
so it'll bring us up to
14. Okay.
The reason why I'm asking this is because of the amount of overtime that we're having generated right now with only 4 firefighters on duty. We're starting to meet some challenges as far as station closures, because now the law has changed with the state on the requirements for overtime. We can't force firefighters to accept overtime. So therefore, there were a few days that we had Station 2 closed and we were down to 2 men on shift. So we have the money to actually hire 3 firefighters. And this will relieve some of the pressure on the overtime and maintain a station to be open.
Well, I move the hiring of resolution 25-42.
A second.
Tough.
You want a second? You second.
Second.
roll call.
Well, this is under the condition that they pass a physical examination, background and sidewalk.
And have a question.
Under those,
You said we're done.
Let me ask a question. But Chief, I'm sure you and the administrative staff have looked at the revenue we receive from our current village. And plugged in what this is gonna cost us, subtracting out what we estimate will be the overtime we will not have.
Correct.
And when that's all said and done, is the opinion that there will be enough money coming in off the existing fire millage to be able to pay for all the expenses plus the addition of 2 firefighters?
Yes.
And I'd also like to flag that as much as we admire them, we do have 4 firefighters that may be ready to retire in the next 36 some months. And we want to be respectful to state law, to our community, and let's grow our next generation.
yes,
Very excited to have you guys here.
so not, really excited.
All right, you have a question?
Ms.
No, I
Robinson?
just have a comment. They did excellent in their interview. I just want to note that too. They did an excellent job.
Yeah.
Yes.
We
I'm
both
not
some
sure
early.
how lucky they know they are coming into this fire service. But it's probably some of the best duty in Southeast.
Have you met your captains yet?
They ain't hired.
Oh, I didn't see you out there, I'm sorry.
Sarah.
Schwartz.
Yes.
Robinson, yes. McKinney,
Yeah.
Green,
Yes.
Devereaux,
Yes.
Davish Yakon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Everyone can.
Congratulations. Congratulations. So D, resolution 2025-43, a resolution to approve the service agreement with the Woodhull Group.
I'll make a motion to table it.
Second.
Yes, to the August 18th meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution is tabled until August. Okay, resolution 2025-44, this is item E, a resolution to approve the SPA easement agreement. Is there a motion to discuss?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. As this board knows, we came into some deficit spending and budget crunch where we don't have the kind of runway that makes either me or our auditor comfortable. And thinking creatively about what we can do to bring up some funding into our general fund, started exploring some items that we'll be bringing forward in August that are not as significant. But this is related to a cell tower that we have an offer for $676,000 upfront that would go into our general fund. And we are expecting that we may get a second offer from a group called Landmark. My intention is not for the board to vote on this today, but simply start the discussion, to do a deep dive, to become either comfortable or uncomfortable with this idea and to flag any questions that we think are significant.
Just for discussion.
Yes, it is. I don't want us to.
Not correct.
I would please not like to vote.
So we'll have, so it's under a resolution, we're not gonna vote on
I would please like to table it until August.
it. Okay.
So what discussion do?
Okay, Mr. B, do you have a point or question?
So, well, first I'd like to say, kudos to you, Madam Supervisor, for navigating this. And I appreciate the point about when here to I would also like to hear what that second offer is. Just my question to you is, do we have a timeline when we can expect that second?
We're working with Landmark. They've been a little bit slow to respond. They do not have as clean of an offer, so that since they're not currently renting from us and SBA is currently there, so they need to go through the legal processes around that to figure out what they can offer.
You think we would have it by the August 18th?
That is
meeting?
sincerely my goal, yes. Or to have some sort of, confirmation or denial from them.
And then do we imagine that offer would be in the general ballpark or more in this operator problem.
Possibly, yes, but the way that they are framing it is that the conditions would be different. And I do want to flag, that this group, SBA, did come before, or sent inquiries to the township in both 2016, 2019 for, in 16 it was $426,000 and in 19 it was for $482,000. Ms. Deborah, did you have a point or?
Yeah, so looking at it, we get a certain amount of revenue every year, right? From the tower. It's in the neighborhood of what, 36,000?
Yes.
So given, I took a look at what Treasurer Lewis is getting us in interest. So even if we wanted to allocate some of these funds to other projects, let's say some paved roads. If we were to invest, 450 to 500,000, we would be breaking even on our rental income in the neighborhood of 7 to 10 years, because the investments that Lisa's making for us are actually doing really well, which the audit highlighted. So I'm not going to be at the August meeting, so that's just my little public service announcement for. I'm very supportive of doing something like this because I think it makes good financial sense. And I also think it gives us some wiggle room in terms of our ability to invest in other capital improvement projects. And it also bolsters our general fund, which is in trouble at the moment.
Yep. Mr. Schwartz.
So, yeah, the board has received offers from SBA in the past, and I think also Landmark has fished around a little bit. And so when I was looking at the past, the one thing that I was concerned about was, we have this asset that generates income year after year. But Starlink, if it goes full blast, will put the cell phone business out of business overnight. So like if we took this and we got the money, Starlink, like made this, irrelevant 2 or 3 years, would be way ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So these are assets that the township enjoys. I would not want to see us get the $600 and some thousand and just put it into the general fund, because it'll just like help paper over the deficit that we have, which will take care of itself, because we're probably at a 6 to 8% growth factor in this township right now on our taxable value. That will take care of itself. So what I would like to see, and I don't know if the rest of the board, if we do go forward and we sell this, that we identify an asset that we would like to reinvest in, an asset for the township, and not just put it in the general fund. And 2 years from now, like, why didn't the $680? It's been spent.
Right. Designated. Designated.
Okay, very good. Is there a motion to table this resolution until August?
I move to table this resolution until August the 18th.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The resolution is tabled until August. And I anticipate on the next one, I'm going to need Mr. Lucas's help. Resolution 2025-45, a resolution to approve and grant DTE Electric Company overhead constraints. Is there a motion to discuss?
So moved.
Right. Mr. Lucas and I spoke with it.
Yes.
I told you already.
No, I weren't left. Anyways,
They'll be there.
as I was saying. That agreement with DP, I looked at a number of communities, similar, the contract is exactly the same. What we did differently today after the supervisor contacted me, I got a hold of DP. And the concern that the supervisor raised was, if we allow this to occur, are they going to start just putting up all kinds of stuff on their poles? So we had them make an amendment to the agreement that basically says that the only thing that can be on their poles is what's on their poles. And that's been added to the agreement. But this is a similar, that it's exactly the same, not even similar, it's exactly the same agreement with the addition of that additional language. And probably about 10 communities I looked at in all. So it's not anything unusual, it's their, decent agreement. Any questions?
I just want to go back to your point. My concern was about other type that they might put on, whether it would be Wi-Fi, surveillance, anything, that could be mounted onto devices within, that sort of a space. And yeah, two, I was concerned about what sort of expansion, because generally, I know that we're not a city, but cities often maintain poles and receive the fees and fines of the infrastructure and have that first approval, so that may be uncomfortable, what sort of tech might be put out that would already be there.
Do they notify us, Fred, when they're going to start work, or they just come out and do it?
You know, actually, this was one, who had,
This is from the
actually,
Parks
it came for you initially, when you, the discussion had, and I'm not sure. You want to come up here and just explain the process, how it got to you and then got to me? Sure. And push on.
Thank you.
Yeah, this originated through the Parks and Recreation Department. The property in question is North Prospect Park. Along the north side, there are 4 poles that stretch along the edge of that park. As you know, I'm sure you've seen around town and around all cities around, they're doing a lot of infrastructure improvements. So one of the things they're doing is replacing poles. The poles that are in that park currently are not evenly spaced. They're typically, about 200 feet, but there's an area where it's 100, 100, and then 300. So they're looking to remove the poles that are not correctly spaced, evenly space everything with the same technology or wires that are up there right now with no addition. It came to me through their third party engineering firm that is doing the work for them.
Ms. Deborah?
So the thing that I was just a little unclear on is why they need an easement to do that work and why they can't just ask us and get consent.
I think that's typical industry standard that when there are poles like that, I mean, that, there is an easement allocated, so if they can't have access, emergency.
That's not a minute.
And there, this is the asking us.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but so I'm probably a little bit on the more conservative side when it comes to easements, especially for a utility because they have a tendency to abuse them. So they end up coming in for years after they get the easement and they start doing things. So I just want to make sure, I don't know if anybody else feels like the way that DTE hatch trees is just completely ridiculous compared to other states and other utility companies. But I don't think that DTE has necessarily shown exceptional judgment in what I've seen. And so I always get a little nervous about giving a utility carte blanche access to anything that I have oversight over. So,
Yeah, I think everybody's kind of on pins and needles when DTE wants to do anything. And I haven't seen the addendum that you created, so.
Oh, just adding.
Just the one line.
Yeah.
Just one line adding in that they can't add any additional, the only things that can go on the pole are what's on. The
Yeah.
What is it? How much?
Yeah,
what
okay.
It's fairly clear. There's no, historic, no 50-year-old trees, nothing like that that's coming down. It's the area that it's in is mostly just brush and scrub. And they're not coming in to clear. They're just changing out the pole. They'll be working, a 10-foot diameter around the existing pole. They're not cutting a path through there or anything like that.
Mr. Schwartz?
So Brett, are they relocating the poles in an existing easement, or is this modified existing easement, or is this a brand new easement for all those poles?
Well, my understanding it's a new easement.
It's a brand new easement. The poles are currently there. There is no easement there now.
They're gonna be working within the right of way. In the road right of way.
Very near.
It's not, it comes a little.
It's on our property. Correct.
Not only is it on our property, Constitution grants the township the authority to control the rights. That's why we need to township. Among other reasons, but that's one reason why they gotta come to us first anyway, is we have authority to control the right of ways. And that's how we get money from them every year, the past few months, from the Metro Authority, and then it's for the utilities and cables and everyone who uses the township's easements for the benefit of their private tenants. So this seems to me to be pretty routine.
Oh, it is,
Yeah.
Mr. Green? Is there a question there?
I mean, I'm just more concerned with the current rates charged for residents and our houses. That's where my brain is at. I understand that.
Want to add an amendment to that one too?
Yeah, like, how bad do you want this easement, I guess?
Yeah, that's a nice piece.
The question is, if the estimates who are certified are the ones that probably want it pretty bad.
Yes, yeah.
All right. Deborah,
No.
Green,
Aye.
Davis Akine,
No.
Brenda McKinney,
Yeah.
Robinson, yes, Schwartz,
The motion passes.
No.
No, you can't pass.
42.
And that's overhead easement does move forward, it's approved. G, we've got a motion to approve all on papers transient to these enterprises. Is there a motion?
Move it.
Support.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and then moving to H, I wanted to bring up that for about 2 years now, our township has not had anyone uniquely taking on law enforcement. And this is something that I've been working on with our building inspector, with our deputy supervisor, and there has been driving around, there has been a lot of it has been reactive assistance, let alone some different people. I was reached out to me by Mr. Larry, and he submitted a letter of interest, and I did my the job description that Mr. Petrie wrote. And he was previously, his last salary with the township in 24 was I believe $26.10 an hour. Pastor Davis is interested in working with the township for like 46 hours a week and feels very comfortable, not just going around and identifying blight, but going to both stores, chatting with them, and having a conversation rather than it's the policy of posting tickets. I think that this is very interesting. It's a difficult role to fill, and especially someone that is so familiar with the community. I met with him last week, a second time, we had a phone call and we sat down together. And our building inspector and deputy supervisor sat in as well. And I got these documents together for the board to take a look at. I would love to bring him in. It's technically filling a vacancy and it is part-time. The role would come out of the law fund for the healthy surplus. And yeah, essentially.
This is from the law fund.
Yep, it's not a lot of fun since it's safety and enforcement. And stuff. This is, and ballparking 26 an hour. Especially since I was not to exceed 7. Yeah, Mr. Green.
I recognize the uniqueness of this situation since Pastor Davis approached township since we're taking on this role, which I appreciate. I do, wonder if it would be beneficial for us to make it more widely accessible, understanding that he did approach the township for the position, just so, that again, I understand that we've kind of had some hiring challenges these last few months. So just to standardize it, like, can we make you looked at the previous job description on that.
But after conversations with staff that worked with Mr. Petrie and looking online, with different type of comes together and then I think created a job description that I think would be appropriate and very similar to what
It's
we
not
did.
a job anyone wants.
Well, yeah, I understand, but just make it accessible. Yeah.
Deborah?
I think we would have to post it.
Yes.
And we would have to do the process that we outlined, when we were posting the job, and, for the billing specialist and residential liaison in the utilities department. I think we have to follow the same process. So I think there's like a 4 to 6 week posting period and all that jazz.
So considering the past precedent, it would be possible to bring him on in a temporary capacity while we do the online posting. That's something the board is interested in, or we can just hold off and do a repost.
Well, what I've noticed, things are getting really junky out there.
Have you talked to your friend?
Things are getting pretty junky out there, and people are complaining about blood. So do we want to just let it sit for 4 to 6 weeks?
Yeah, it's not yet when they say. Like I understand, I absolutely don't want it to sit. I think that the goal is to standardize the process as far as hiring is concerned. So I think in the vein of, let's post the position. We know that Pastor Davis is interested in the position, so he naturally be the first applicant that's considered. And then you move forward. They can have the same 4 to 6 weeks. This is make sure.
I think if it was gonna be multiple months, I would be more open to having somebody serve in a temporary position, but it's been vacant for how long? Yeah, so I think that if we, very often when you have somebody serve in a temporary position, they get a bit of a leg up because they're already doing the job. So my recommendation, for whatever it's worth, would be that we hold, given it's been vacant for so long, we follow the process.
If that's what the board's comfortable with, I think that sounds good.
That's for
So do we have someone going out now as we get complaints?
Yeah, our building inspector will go out, deputy supervisor will go out, I'll go out and scan, there's the 3 of us that are fielding things. Yeah. And I know that it's a lot for our building inspector to be able to right now. So he's been asking for some time to all this.
I support. Trustee Goodman,
Okay, very good. Well, I'm glad I got this in front of you all, and we'll work on doing this all. You walked us.
Yeah, we're just.
So do we need to do anything in order to table it from a MTA guidelines standpoint?
No, we're just gonna get it posted, and I hope you guys can tune them on. Thank you. Okay, moving forward, is there a quick list of any discussion? This item? Okay. Right, so moving to line item called a road improvement strategy, is there a need to discuss further, or are we feel satisfied with Mr. Layer's presentation?
who's satisfied?
Is that right?
Yeah, I have, the only thing that I'd like to discuss further, is a plan for how we actually take action. So I appreciate, that the road commission is gonna come back, with a 3 and sounds like 5-year, plan for us to consider. That sounds like, I don't know, I should have asked this actually when Adam was here, that sounds like a joint working session of some sort that would be helpful for us to sit down, because really what I find difficult about all of this is taking a look at the paved roads, comparing them against the dirt roads. And I realize that the road commission is primarily concerned with traffic and connector roads and all that jazz. But we also need to be concerned with the experience of our residents, like the people who live here, like needs to be the thing that we're considering the most, in my opinion. So I want us, if they don't have a criteria that compares, you know, the dirt road requirements or unpaved road requirements with paved road requirements and neighborhood roads against connector roads, then I think we need one so that we're being transparent with the public around, hey, here's how we're making decisions. Here's our stack ranked list. We've done our due diligence and we've gone around and physically inspected some of these roads that need help. And here's why we're prioritizing them in the way that we're prioritizing them. So great presentation, really helpful. And I think we need a solid like half-day working session to figure out how do we create a prioritized list and some criteria that's specific to us.
I would think that, but I mean, just, 100% support it. I think the one thing, as we're working to kind of understand like the road commission's priority list, but also establishing our own priority list, is that I don't want to simply take the road commission's word for it, and they have different priorities have moving forward. I'm understanding that their priority is kind of like in the greater interest of like the county and like road traffic, but we need to make sure that we're taking care of our residents. So, that's like what Trustee Deborah said.
So what I'm going to do then is we'll go to Adam in the next couple of weeks and get that 5-year plan. I think he's going to start with 5.
Yeah, can we put a due date on that plan? Can we give him a due date?
I'll stay on top of it.
Thank you.
Once we have that date, I'll organize putting a session together for us to look at the study and do a deep dive. Right, I'll keep you guys posted.
And it sounds like really good timing, because he was saying with the thing that was new information for me tonight was the planning process and the engineering work that needs to go into paved road improvements, and that is significantly more than unpaved roads. And so I want to make sure that we're not in a situation like this again, and that if we need to get started on planning for those improvements now, then let's do it now. Great, thank you.
would like to say one thing.
Mr. Schwartz.
Is that, under Michigan law, the statutory scheme is set up that the townships are not responsible for roads. The road commission is responsible for public roads in the township portions of the county, not the city, but in the township portion. So they had a little figure in here of what it would take to fund all of our roads, $10 million. So we're never gonna be able to do that, but I think we need to really sort of direct them where we want to spend our money on this and figuring out a way to prioritizing, which I think we did that in the past for the most part. I worked pretty closely with road committee. But there's so much to do and there's just not enough money to do it all. So, somebody's always gonna feel like they weren't satisfied, we can't satisfy everyone. It's not even our responsibility. But if we didn't do something, nothing or very little.
Yeah. Last just quick, I agree with all of that, Ken. And I think that that's why, like having that transparent priority list and a criteria that we all agree to, so that when we go to the road commission and make those recommendations as the township, we're all aligned as a board on here's how we're making this decision.
It's not just them making recommendations stuff.
Right.
At least there's some negotiation going back.
Right.
Exactly.
Yep. Yep.
There's some unity there, so.
Thank you. All right, moving to the, for HR role profile and planning recommendation, Mr. Greener, Mr. Arlo, do you want to kick us off?
Let's see, yes, so, I got together, with, Lisa, and also with Nancy. And we took a look at, Nancy's, role and all of the responsibilities that she's holding right now. We took a look at some of the HR responsibilities that no one is holding, but probably should, and put together a recommendation for a part-time HR generalist. There's a lot of background documentation for you all in your packets, based on the size of the township and also the needs that we have for HR. A part-time resource really should be sufficient, and hiring something like a director for our size and also for the needs that we have is far more costly than is necessary. So the recommendation, just as a discussion, but also just to get it in front of you all for a future vote, has benchmarking around compensation. It's also got a pretty thorough list of responsibilities that Lisa and Nancy and I went through through multiple meetings, so we're all aligned. And then also a recommendation just around, let's see, there was one other thing. Oh, the level. So the rationale around why an HR generalist as opposed to an HR manager or an HR director. So just wanted to bring it up, see if there were any questions so that we can continue to move this forward.
Ms. McKinney?
Trustee Deborah, I would like to thank you for your work on done with this. And I'm sure the board will really appreciate the work.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Nancy and Lisa were also, I know neither of them are here tonight, but we met multiple times and they were great. And Angela also chimed in and was super supportive. So I'm glad we were able to move it forward quickly. I know it's been something that people have been talking about and raising for quite some time.
And
Questions? Great, so we'll keep this in our back pocket until we're ready to hire. Okay.
Yeah, and my thought is, we need to, that's another thing, maybe we'll talk about that during our working session on Friday. But we need to talk about the hiring freeze, which is technically still in place, and what we're going to do about that as like a financial mechanism.
Okay. Great. I'm gonna move ahead to the update that I want to provide regarding lighting on Harris Road and the Gettysburg neighborhood. For some time, and since I've come into this role, I've seen a theme where activity is in our community and where there are all the issues, and residents in that neighborhood have expressed concern over lighting and that there would be increased safety if they had more of it. There is some lighting currently on Harris Road. I have been going back and forth with ETE and it took them a bit of time to get an initial quote together. The first quote involved one pulling a light at the entrance of the neighborhood on Andover, but it came down to, I want to say about $1,200 and $25 a month fee. But I pushed back a bit on that. I'm going to get more of a detailed review for us for our next meeting. I just want to flag that this is ongoing. I'm working with their engineers to do a fuller assessment of where the gaps are in public lighting within the community and heading down towards the private as well. And I've been also working with a variety of our deputies who are on the beat there in the evenings, know where the gaps are, where the safety issues are. And they've been giving me, several write-ups around what they're saying and what they think that, our community needs most to enhance public safety. So just want to give a shout out to several of our deputies who've been helping. So I'm glad that they've got the attention of DTE and that, we're waiting on some additional quotes.
So it's the lighting in Fireman's Park, is that?
There are some concerns from with residents and our Station 2 Fire Department that there is not enough lighting in Fireman's Park. And there are no parking sensors where the pavilion is, and so sometimes they have concerns, but that's an area that needs looking at as well.
Definitely, because the kids do play out there, like, you might be out there now.
No, that's right.
So we can, there's like.
Ms. Dowdell?
Yeah, just I'm curious, does DTE have any like published recommendations for lighting in areas that like match our setup?
Well, there's special assessment, like streetlights, we all pay a special assessments for streetlights.
There's no special assessment for that area.
Yeah.
This one we have to pay, just like we did at Goffin.
Oh, we don't have to pay.
My question.
But it's cheap enough for us to pay it, if they need additional lighting there, we can
take it on, yeah, Mr. Schwartz.
So is the light that's being proposed at Getty's and Harris where the new traffic signals are at, or is it Andover?
Everybody Andover, so
And-
first
and-
proposed.
Yeah,
Maybe
maybe one lighting.
I didn't think that was going to be significant enough. I was a little disappointed with the first proposed, and so they were doing a deeper dive with their engineers, and I've got some of our sheriffs that are looking at it.
They need lighting there at Andover, there's.
It just needs to be a little more comprehensive.
If you turn in, Getty, you really can't see them.
That's the concern.
Yeah, the cost of the past for adding street lighting to the community was not very, and they have programs to help offset the cost.
Right.
I think we spent a couple thousand or less on Johnston Ford, and so you're looking for ballpark. But there's no special assessment for that, so just come out of street lighting general fund. Whatever, figure it out.
When you're at the lighting, there, can you look at the lighting, find this project?
They put a recommendation with our parks director a couple weeks ago about some things that our fire department like to see. So I'll put them on the spot.
I will say that, and I think Brett was here with us here. Is that when you propose certain things, it might, some people might think of their recommendations. So you have this public meeting to inform them the Broad Street lights. Illuminating fire at the park in the past, I've gotten a lot of bad feedback from people who report they didn't want home. So it's just good to reach out, before you make just.
Sure, and that's why we're having this conversation ahead. So I get on everyone's radar. Yeah, excellent.
I like light.
Oh, sorry.
I just have one comment regarding the compensation benchmark.
Yes.
I see that it was based on a small municipality. We're actually a medium municipality.
I did the numbers. You guys small.
Yeah, I could send you.
Okay,
Yeah.
I will take a look at
Okay.
it. Sorry, I didn't realize.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to go back to.
Yeah, okay. And if we may go to the next discussion, I'll wrap it up. The job analysis, I got it from Pittsfield Township Friday afternoon. I think that they did some thoughtful work for us and they did it for no fee. I really appreciate the time and energy. This is something I like, the board have to review at the table, like to bring up some of these concepts on Friday, but it aligns a lot with what we're hearing about the consultants that are interested in coming as controllers, and then also I think too, what the HR analysis and, the data taking that you guys did provide. So there certainly some similar things. I want to make sure that this was formally provided and into your attention before the August meeting to a work session. So I'll let you digest that at home or in a later time since it got handed out at the table.
Yeah, I would like to have time to review it.
Okay, thank you.
It's still great. Yeah, here. Yeah.
And now if we may move forward to bills for payment and record of disbursements.
Move the bill.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No opposed? The bills are paid. Okay, moving to pleas and petitions. Are there any pleas or petitions in the public online?
I don't say I'm clear, but it's an announcement that I may not be at the August meeting, and know that you have already planned your work and figure out. So I'm having surgery on the August sixth. And it's per team, so I may be here, but I don't know.
You'll be here.
But if I'm not here, I won't hear that. Not bad, if I am.
Hungry.
You should table to long for September.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, the first one, I think for Getty's Ridge does not have no street lights. So if you're in the middle of Andover, there's no street lights. The lights that the residents get are the lights that come from their house. So when they're talking about street lights, they're talking about in the neighborhood. And so we all know what that looks like when we don't have any power. So just drive through, just drive through, because it was a couple of residents that said that to me a while ago.
You mean Getty's and Ridge?
I'm talking about Getty's Ridge subdivision. Putting a light at the beginning of Andover is not gonna help 10 houses in. And that is a safety issue. Tonight, I lost respect for the Washington County Road Commission. I lost a little respect. And the reason is because when we talk about it's going to take $10 million to do all the streets for the neighborhoods that we're ignoring, whatever happened to the word equity or fairness? Whatever happened to knowing that last year you spent 90% of your budget for dirt roads? So again, this year you're spending 100%, and that's okay. That's not okay. And what really bothers me tonight, because I was not going to get up, when you have a resident that pays taxes, that gets up here and talks about the drainage, and Brenda, you're the only one that looked at the picture. Dana, I know you were out there. All of you need to walk over there and look at the picture. And this is what they have to endure. There's another area, Sheffield at Ascot, that every time there's a storm, we have to get out there in our boots. When I went to the road commission after our last meeting, there was another gentleman, it wasn't this one, but he suggested something called inlets. And so what I'm thinking, envisioning with inlets, if the rain is coming down off of the higher part of Stanford, if you have more inlets, which I kind of look as drains, or maybe it's thinner, to allow that water to get down into the main drain. Do you know how much he said it would cost? He said $2,000. I didn't hear that tonight. So I beg all of you, each of you at some point, to go to the road commission meeting. They're very helpful. And rely on what they say, because we have to solve this problem. You're putting dirt and you're doing drainage and forestry on Cherry Hill, and they're drowning. They're losing cars. They're losing their driveways. Their quality of life is bad. Please do better.
Pleas or petitions? Not.
We do have something online.
And I just want to say, because I did look at the pictures. I did see the pictures.
Thank you.
Just wanted to.
Thank you.
Thank you. This comment is from Mrs. Mohammed. Shame on you, Board of Trustees. A resident has been coming to you for 30 years with the drainage issue on Stanford Road. Her property has been damaged multiple times. Your resolve is to quell the dust on Cherry Hill Road. Her sons cleaned the drain in storms when they were young, and now a new family across the street has their young children cleaning the drain. But after all, it is south of Getty's. Well done, Trustee McKinney. You should hang your head. This is your neighborhood. Thank you, Trustee Green, for actually coming to help clean the drain in a storm. We will remember at election time.
Thank you. Oh, no, other pleas and petitions?
I do have another one, actually.
Thank you.
This is from Rick. One light at the Gettys Ridge sub ain't enough to make our neighborhood more secure. We have our car broken into every year, and at least twice now we have drive-by shootings. I had 5 neighbors with cameras that seen it happen, got it on Ring cameras, and it was too dark. Our kids walk from the library in the dark. We don't need no lights at Harris. There's already lighting there. We need lights in the subdivision.
Thank you. Any other presentations?
You know, I have to say, one thing, you know, you could request DEP community planning to give you a plan that costs something for putting out street lamps out to it. And then we determine, or get a grid, we determine whether we would pay for it ourselves or whether we create a special system.
I believe that's what they initially shared, and it was not significant enough.
Because other subdivisions pay a special assessment for it, and they're not that much, some of them are like $9 a year, $12, it's not expensive. Gettys Ridge would probably be, $12 to every resident.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.